Now, for this one. And, let's make sure.
Yeah. You can start the recording. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Hey, hello again. ACA, everybody's favorite topic. I know it's mine. Actually, my favorite topic. I know it's super exciting for you too. So I want to again review and try to help you with some tips to try to make sure that you're using the system to the best of its capability to help you streamline this process. I know everybody every year is like, oh, ACA, I don't want to do it. But I promise you, it's super exciting and not that hard. So ACA, as a reminder, for those that may not be aware of it, ACA Affordable Care Act. It was the law that was set in place in 2010 to help make health insurance more affordable and accessible to employees. The point of this is that employers use the Form 1095-C to report and file the insurance eligibility for their team members and the affordability with the IRS. Just telling the IRS you're in compliance, you're offering insurance to full-time people so that people can get their insurance coverage as they need to. Who's required to do ACA reporting? So those with at least 50 full-time equivalent employees. So that's where we can run reports in the system if you're kind of right along that cusp, like just 50 employees, even if they're part-time, full-time, doesn't necessarily mean, oh, we have to do ACA. We just have to do the equivalents and add everybody's hours up of what their equivalent is based on like essentially half an employee or 0.3, whatever it may be according to the hours they work. We can run all those reports. I just did it for Angela here. So it's easy. We can do that in the system to help you out and see if you're right along that line. Obviously, if you know you have that many full-time people, you're probably already doing ACA. So full-time for ACA, everybody's going to have their different internal requirements for full-time, but ACA cares that you're working 30 plus hours per week or 130 hours per month during the measurement period. So we can talk a lot more about that. Like we could talk about ACA for hours and hours, but measurement period is just that time frame between 3 and 12 months that we're going to sit there and identify, okay, is there hours, are the hours on average 30 per week, 130 per month? Is it below or above that to determine if they need to have ACA reporting done? So we just want to remind you today, like this process can be simple. It's not super hard, especially if you can commit to a few minutes every time you have a situation to keeping up with this. That way at the end of the year, you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours trying to help figure this out. So what's needed to complete ACA reporting? So the ACA module is an extra fee. So if you're going to do ACA reporting with us, we have to first and foremost turn that on. And then after that is the medical benefit plan. You don't have to have ACA for that. Kind of we talked about with the open enrollment and benefits earlier, like these are just things that are separate. So you do ACA, that gets you the reporting, but then we do the medical benefit plan set up and assigned to each employee, then the benefit profile assigned to the employee, and an ACA profile. So what is your responsibility when it comes to this? So providing us with medical plan changes so that we can make sure the rates are updated and accurately calculate the affordability. And then next is assigning the benefit profile to the employee. It's best if you do it during the hire process, but then afterward, you'll need to make sure you assign the benefit profile enrollment override so they can select their benefits, and then just assign the ACA profile, and then ensure the medical plans are assigned to the employees. If they're doing open enrollment, they're already picking that, so that part you can check it off because they're already taking care of their own plans. If you're not doing open enrollment, you do have to go manually assign those. It's not too difficult though. So benefit profile, what's the point of the profile? It tells the system when the employee is eligible and for which plans they're eligible. So if not everyone is eligible for all of the plans, or maybe you have certain medical plans that are only for salary people versus hourly, whatever the situation may be, ACA only cares about the medical plan, but the benefit profile obviously is not just for ACA. So you can tell the system which plans the employees are eligible for, and then the date that you assign that for, which the instructions are here and in your handout. The date which you assign that for is telling the system when the employee is eligible. So then here I just have a quick like recorded video that I did showing you. So main tab, this follows the instructions in your handout for later. So main tab for the employee, you can see the hire date up at the top next to their name, makes it easy for you to assign it and calculate their waiting period and eligibility date. So then remember, just don't assign in the default date that's here. Always need to click plus add. So make sure you do the add, put the profile in there for which the plans they're eligible for has in there. Enter in the date that they're eligible and then save it. Super easy. And that can be done in the new hire wizard too. It's going to look the exact same. It'll have the benefit profile in there. It's already in there. It's one of the default items that's in there. You just assign it, tells the system they're eligible, and that's it. Super easy.
I have a question.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
When I did that on the new hire wizard, it did not default down to that second one in the benefit. Is that bad?
So you'll still have to do plus add.
I still have to do
In
plus
there,
add, and even though it populated that, should I then wipe that out and not do it in the
Yes.
new hire wizard at all?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep, the default spot always needs to be blank. Otherwise, what you're communicating to the system is this employee has been eligible for all these benefits for all of time. So when you do your 1095, it's going to say this employee was always eligible, but if their plan didn't start until after their waiting period, you didn't offer them benefits for that period of time. So you're telling the system you're out of compliance. So that's the point of leaving that slot blank so that it knows they're not eligible, they have a waiting period, and then we assign it for the date that they are eligible. So then ACA profile just communicates to the system that it needs to calculate ACA data for the employee. So even for part-time employees, if they're working like super duper part-time, maybe only a couple hours per week, it's not really going to matter that you have a profile assigned. But for those that are working, I would say more than 20 hours per week, you're going to want to assign the profile just so that the data is calculated. That doesn't mean you have to produce a 1095. They're part-time. You don't have to offer benefits unless they meet the requirements to offer them benefits. But if they're working more than 20 hours per week, I would say go ahead and get that profile assigned to them so we can start calculating that data. Because then if they do maybe work extra hours or they start to increase hours, it's already there and you can start calculating all of that and you don't have to try to do it after the fact. So then instructions on here for the ACA profile as well. In the video, just showing you again, we're going to go over to the ACA tab for the employee. And unlike the benefit profile, ACA profile does go in the default slot. So the benefit profile, you're going to have a waiting period with it, but ACA profile, there's no waiting period per se. We just want to always calculate that data for the employee. You don't have to effective date it. The only time you need to click plus add and start adding tiers in there is when the employee switches between full-time and part-time. That gets a little messy, so I haven't put it in here just because it's going to be very specific to a few situations, but you would always put the profile in the default slot to just always calculate the data for all time, and then plus add is when they switch part-time to full-time or vice versa. And then medical benefit plan. So this just tells the system whether they have enrolled or have not enrolled. So if you don't have a plan on there, it doesn't know what to do. It's not going to just assume that they didn't enroll. It's going to assume you didn't offer them benefits. So if you have the benefit profile assigned, but you don't have a plan, it knows they're eligible, but doesn't know whether they've enrolled or not enrolled. So even those that have waived or part-time employees, you need to go ahead and put the plan in there that they've waived it, just so the system knows that it doesn't need to do anything for that employee. So benefit plan purpose is to communicate that the employee has enrolled or waived coverage. The plan and the premium are linked. So that's why if you're using benefit plans, it's crucial to have that assigned because that's how the premium gets deducted. And then the instructions for assigning the benefit plan are there for you to reference later. And then I've also got just a quick video here for this. So you'll go to the HR tab. You'll go down to benefit plans, and then you can manually assign it here if you need to. So you'll do add new, enter the effective date of the plan. That allows you to select which plan it is. You can search down because obviously you're probably going to have a lot of plans in there. So you can search for your medical plan, choose their coverage level, click on save. And then if you have any spouses or dependents that are required based on being self-insured, or you just like to have that required in there, you can go down and add from their existing contacts. If they don't already have spouses and dependents listed in the contacts and you're manually adding the plan, make sure they add those in the account contacts first. It can sometimes cause problems if they try to add a contact from within here. So just make sure they do it in their account contacts, and then they can pull it in here and add the spouse and or dependents onto the plan. Yes.
We have these that we do our benefits through,
Mhm.
does that connect with these at all? Or-
Most likely, yes. It connects with a lot of different things. We use a third party to connect our software to whatever your software is. It's the go-between. So yes, most likely we can connect those two softwares
In
together.
the plus ad thing you're talking about, do I have to, did that last year, do I have to do that for the same employees again this year?
No, so that's a good question. Once you assign the benefit profile, it's on there. The only time you would need to go back and check that again is if the employee terminates and now they're rehired, so they have to go through the waiting period again. But yeah, once it's there, it's there. Yep. Good questions. So then a couple of tips to help us streamline this at the end of the year. So first one is putting the benefit profile on during the hire process. So a lot of times at year end, like if you don't do open enrollment in the system, it's going to be common. You're like, oh no, now I have to go sign all these profiles, do all this stuff. If you just do it during the hire process, regardless of whether you're doing open enrollment with us or not, it's good to have it in there because you just spend literally a few seconds assigning that during the hire process. And then you don't have to try to think about it or calculate the dates later. It's just there. So a few seconds now instead of maybe 5 minutes at the end of the year. So I just got a quick little screenshot. It's probably a little bit small for you, but the benefit profile can be found on the other settings tab in the new hire wizard. So just assigning it there. The plus add button is in there. Just make sure it adds the slot in there that allows you to put the date in. Just assign the profile there. If your benefit profile is required, which is probably what Tara was talking about, it's going to make you put something in there. So that's where we may have created a no benefits profile for you to show that it's empty, they're not eligible for anything in the default slot, but then effective, whatever date it is, they are eligible. So by default, it's not required. So you can go ahead and do the plus add without having to put anything in the default slot as intended. If it is required, and you're having issues with it, let us know. We can help try to figure that out for you. ACA profile. So this one is not in the new hire wizard by default, obviously because ACA is an ancillary add-on, but we can make it required so that it shows up in the other settings tab too to help you assign that right during the hire. It makes it so much easier. Then you don't have to go try to figure all that out later and recalculate timelines. If you do it when you're hiring the employee in, it just makes it easy so that the data is already calculated. It's doing all of that for you and you don't have to try to think about that or go back and mass assign at the end of the year. So adding that in there makes it required. Assign variable, non-variable, super easy. And then the third thing, so benefit profile, enrollment override. I don't think we talk about this a whole lot, but if you have any sort of waiting period at all, even if it's just they have to wait until the first of the following month for when they're eligible for their benefits, we want to make sure that you're using the override so that they can enroll in benefits. Because otherwise you're telling the system, hey, maybe you're 30 days first of following month. So during that time, they're not eligible. They won't be able to see any of the plans. So using the override gives you the opportunity to put dates in there to allow them to select their benefits during that time. So for this, I would recommend adding this in the new hire checklist. If you have HR, you can add this in as an admin task or a manager task that either you can do or your the employee's manager, one of your helpers can do for you. The other option is you can set up email notifications to send upon hire to remind you to do this. It's not something we can put in the new hire wizard, unfortunately, but it is something that you need to do. So we want to try to give you tips to be able to remember to do that. So I have a video here showing you of what it could look like if you put it in your new hire checklist. You'll just go to the My Checklist tab. So when you hire someone in, it'll give them all of their tasks, and then you have a separate checklist still for the same employee that has your tasks. This is an example of what it can look like. It's not always going to look default like this, but I just had it linked to the employee information so you can see your team right there. Go to the employee's profile. You're on the HR tab, benefit profile, enrollment override, and then you just assign the profile, put the start and end date for the period of time that you want them to have access to enroll. Maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's a month, whatever that may be. they'll have overridden access to enroll in those benefits during that time, even though they're enrolling for on into the future. You'll save it in here. And then when you're done with this, remember it is a checklist, kind of doesn't look like a checklist here. It makes you feel like you're on the employee report. You'll just mark that item as complete. If there's nothing else in there, then that part of the checklist is done. It can just be an easy way to help remember do that. That way you don't have to try to go back and the employee's contacting you, your inbox is blowing up. Oh no, I don't have the access to do this. The managers are getting frustrated. It just helps keep it all simple in the new hire checklist. You get that assigned, do it right away, makes it easy for them to complete that without any hassle. And then the last thing, if you have the HR module as well, using a status change HR action, we have another client that uses this and it's super duper helpful for them. When the employee changes status, there's probably a whole lot of other things other than ACA that you need to change. That might be their base compensation, maybe their pay calc or pay prep profile, anything like that that you have to change if they're going from full-time to part-time or vice versa. Doing that within an HR action to where you have to-do items, a workflow, everything else associated with it, it helps streamline things so much easier. Because then otherwise at the end of the year, you're trying to remember, okay, what exact day did they change their status and do we need to offer them benefits? What's the waiting period? You're trying to figure all of that out at the end of the year. Whereas if you can do it right when the event actually happens, it's fresh in your mind and you can take care of everything else that may be needed for payroll, timekeeping, whatever else matters at that time too. So using an HR action would be super helpful. It's just an idea. If you have a process that already works for you, that's perfectly fine. This is just something that we recommend because we've seen it actually work like live with clients that we still currently have. So it would be super helpful both for ACA and to help streamline other processes on your end too. So then in summary, spending a few minutes now or even a few seconds in the moment, instead of trying to spend 5 to 15 minutes like per situation, per employee at the end of the year, it's just going to take one thing off of your to-do list for year end. Obviously, businesses have a lot of processes at year end that you have to clean up and doing all your bookkeeping, everything else. I know that ACA is just one of the items on your very lengthy to-do list. So trying to spend a few seconds or a few minutes throughout the year as each situation happens, it's going to help streamline that process so much. Because then at the end of the year, all you have to do is just maybe review a few people and then you create the 1095s and you're done. Your process at the end of the year for ACA could maybe take a half an hour or an hour instead of maybe a couple of hours, multiple days, weeks, whatever it may be. So we're here to help. We want to help streamline the system for you. If any of these things are things you want to implement, or this is something you like, you just have different ideas for how it could work for you, let us know. We're happy to help configure it. Obviously, some of our team members are back at the office still working in the queue right now, so they may not be familiar with it. But if you just contact Adriana or I, or say, hey, this is something that was referenced in the training, we want to do this, that's great. We can help you with it. And then keeping up with ACA throughout the year keeps it fresh in your mind. The ACA part is not as difficult at the end of the year. If you're doing it throughout the year, it keeps it fresh in your mind and you tackle those little situations throughout the year so that at the end of the year, all you have to do is just remember how to do the 1095s. You don't have to just right now try to learn ACA, remember how to do it, and then you spend 11 months forgetting about it. Keeping up with it throughout the year keeps it fresh in your mind. So then the 1095s, like this really is the bulk of ACA. When you're ready, all you have to do is follow these steps to produce that 1095. So you're just going to go in there, you mass add all of the forms. Remember though, the forms are added based on people with an ACA profile. So if you have part-time people that you've added profiles for because they're right along that 30 hours per week cusp, then you'll want to delete those if they didn't actually meet the requirements to offer benefits. You don't need those forms. But once you add them and you have all the forms for the people you really need to produce them for, you'll check the box, you populate all the forms, review them. If you're self-insured, the biggest thing to look for is to make sure page 3, part 3 is not blank. It should have the employee and their spouse and or dependents as applicable for whatever coverage they have. All of that should be on there with social security numbers and birth dates. So if you're self-insured, that's the biggest thing to check for on the forms to make sure all of that is populated. After that, all you do is you check a box and you mass finalize. And that's it. So it could literally take you, if you have right close to 50 employees, could take you maybe a half an hour to do ACA. If you have more than that, it could just maybe take you an hour or 2 hours to complete everything instead of trying to spend a whole day on it. I know this is not the only thing in your day, so just having that little block of time instead of trying to spend a lot of time can help you a whole lot. So for ACA, this is hopefully the bulk of what you have. Any questions? I know that was like a super lot of information in a little bit of time, but any questions or anything that you want to see again?
I just wanna say thank you.
Yeah, of course.
You've been great, you really have. Helping me get all thousands of people. Like that. It's great.
Yeah.
I feel better.
I'm glad. ACA is like one of the things that I've chosen to specialize in because I started December 16th of 2021. So I was like thrown into ACA of like, hey, guess what? You have to help these clients and you also have to learn it right now too. So I've kind of just taken it upon myself to learn ACA over the past 4 years. And I found it's kind of exciting. Sometimes I'm sure you guys are like, well, you're crazy, but it's a little bit exciting. And when you can take the steps that you need to streamline it, I love seeing the success in that. So helping you has been super enjoyable and I've been able to learn a whole lot too.
My phone out.
Okay. If nobody has any questions, then you're good. This one. Cool.
Oh no, just gotta get up there again. I think we're gonna go a little bit off agenda and just push through unless anyone wants to go get up and stretch their legs.